I think America must see that riots do not develop out of thin air. A riot is the language of the unheard.
On this episode of Bad Cop No Donuts, in the United States, there are a special brand of people. People who above all others are the mighty men and women of the Sumter County Sheriff's Department. We have discovered footage of a brave officer fighting intruders who showed up at the sheriff's station. This is his story. This is Deputy Billy Bob Dixie. There are men invading our sheriff's station claiming to be FBI. Alright, let me check the camera feeds. Wait, what's this? It's a news report. It's about the department. Wait, we had a major beating up officers, and then when those officers came public, he just lied on them and claimed that they were stealing things when they weren't. And there was a history of this, a history of a major just beating up officers, and then when they come forward, he just slaps them with the allegation of them stealing things, and they lose their jobs. Wait, and the chief knew about this?
That matter was resolved between the officers in my presence.
Oh, there's our DUI checkpoint. Look at us protecting citizens. Wait, what? We had officers giving alcohol to minors? Maybe he gave the chief's son some of that alcohol because even the police chief's son is out here punching people in the face. And what exactly is the point? And that's putting out a DUI checkpoint if our own officers can't stop drinking and driving. Our police sergeants are supposed to help fight public indecency, not engage in it. How can our detectives investigate fraud when they're defrauding the United States Air Force? Who is it that I work for? I need to get home. I need to fire up the resume. I need to find a new job. Oh God, here they come. Oh Jesus, help me God, help me please. FBI, help me. That video opener contained information that is both true, accurate, and quite shocking. So welcome freaks and geeks to another episode of Bad Cop No Donut, where today we're going to focus on the Sumter County Police Department and Sheriff's Department in South Carolina. Nothing in the world would perfectly symbolize just how corrupt a police department is, quite like the story that I mentioned in the opener. Now what you see on the screen before you is a mugshot of a Sumter Police Department deputy chief being arrested in in South Carolina in 2018. Now that was only 2 years ago, and mind you, this guy was a major. This man has a history of abusing people, and when those people turned out to be law enforcement officers who have been coming forward about this guy for quite some time, well, he found out who they were and then went on Facebook and social media in general and started harassing the person by using everything from phone spoofing applications in order to call this person from different numbers, texting this person, and then even contacting them on Facebook. Now you might be asking, why would he go out of his way to harass, intimidate, and bully someone who was just trying to come forward about him? Well, you can't get into that story without first knowing the story of former Master Patrolman Alex Williams after he was fired by the police chief because he was accused of stealing more than $1,200 during a quote-unquote found money call. But as it turns out, that was not only untrue, Officer Williams was being accused of this because the department wanted to cover up the fact that Major Alvin Holston has a long history of abusing officers and beating them up.
Former officer Alex Williams claims that he was physically assaulted by the veteran major. Williams says it happened last month inside the Sumter Police Department. Tonight, WYS's Jody Barr finds more evidence of physical and verbal assault. It's unfortunate that it happens, but it does. So I don't deny that.
That's Sumter Police Chief Patty Patterson defending her major, Alvin Holston, after multiple complaints were filed against him. Some of the complaints surfaced in Holston's personnel file, which Patterson released. Others came from officers still on the force that were not included in Holston's file.
So it turns out that this man did nothing wrong, and the only thing that he was guilty of was trying to reveal the abusive pattern of a major and a second in command at his department, and And when he tried to do that, he was not only punished, but some of the things that were said by the chief and also the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, or SLED, shows the real reason why Alex Williams was silenced. A Sumter County jury found that Williams was not guilty of a charge that the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division tried to bring against him, which was breach of trust. Back on July 9th of 2013, the SLED Division Chief Mark Keel sent a letter to Alex Williams that essentially cleared him of all the charges brought against him. So since it was clear that he never stole anything, why was he ever charged in the first place, especially given that everything that he said about Alvin Holston turned out to be true, because other officers said it as well. And Alvin Holston was also arrested for harassing people who came forward about him. Let me ask you a question. If an officer who became a master patrolman was silenced when it turns out that he did nothing wrong and that he was right about the things that he was coming forward about, then how do you think the Sumter County law enforcement has been treating their own citizens? Well, let me show you. Now what you'll notice is a whole lot of do as I say and not as I do from the Sumter County law enforcement. They'll tell citizens to not drink and drive, and the Sumter County government will even make videos and release videos with their police officers in those videos, when the fact is it's not the citizens who need to watch those videos, it's actually the cops. I mean, after all, it was just this year in April of 2020 that a Sumter County police officer named Joshua Christmas was out giving alcohol to minors. Now that happened this year, and maybe Josh Christmas was just taking some advice from deputies that came before him, because this is not an isolated incident. In fact, it's happened before. Back in 2009, Michael Bower was charged with second-degree criminal sexual conduct with a minor, and this came after he was already fired from the Sumter County Sheriff's Department for giving alcohol to a minor. And even when their deputies aren't giving alcohol to children, they're drinking and driving while they're off duty. Like, for example, Robert Alden Burnish. He was arrested and charged for driving under the influence and having an open container. So what exactly is the point of you putting out YouTube videos asking the question of, was it worth it? Or is it worth it? I don't know, maybe the Sumter County government should go ask Joshua Christmas, was it worth it to give children alcohol? While at the same time, he and his law enforcement buddies in Sumter County love to lock up a bunch of people just for having a little bit of weed on them with their ridiculous claims that weed causes problems. No, let me tell you what actually causes problems. It's when one of your sergeants is supposed to be on duty, but instead, he's too busy getting some fellatio from a citizen. Former Sumter County Police Sergeant Travis Haynes was arrested on Monday, February 4th, 2019 because he had sex with a woman while he was on duty, which is actually illegal in South Carolina for very good reason. You can't just have a position like a sergeant and then neglect your duties, because as you can see, if you don't supervise these officers in Sumter County, they just act a fool. And now you're beginning to see why they're acting the fool, because their sergeants, instead of supervising them, was busy enriching himself in a sexual manner. And now you begin to understand why these people are out of control, because just like Alvin Holston and just like this sergeant here who is, we'll just say was shooting some adult film entertainment while on duty, their leadership is absolutely out of control. Well, if your leadership is screwed up, then you could expect much of the same from your officers. They've had officers beat up people during routine traffic stops. That is relatively common in Sumter County. In fact, if they don't just beat you up, they'll just shoot you in the back 17 times. Back in 2017, then 35-year-old Walt Key Williams was gunned down by Sumter police during a domestic violence call. I am not justifying anything that Walt Key Williams might have done, but my issue is I've also done a video about a former Florence County Sheriff named Kenny Boone. And while Kenny Boone was on trial for embezzlement, which he was convicted for, by the way, according to police reports, he took a baseball bat and beat up his wife and a cat. And when the police showed up, he then took that exact same baseball bat and threatened them with it. So I don't want to hear someone try to tell me about why a man who was unarmed should have been shot in the back 17 times, and yet a man who was on trial for embezzlement, who according to police reports and also a family court file, beat up his wife and a cat and then threatened cops with it, and yet somehow, some way, unlike Walt Key Williams and Walter Scott, Kenny Boone does not end up dead. Another thing that I don't want to to hear is that this department doesn't need any changes when I could just go on the internet and find that in the past, they had detectives who were suspended and also indicted on a charge of defrauding the United States Air Force to receive pay even though they weren't on active duty. Not to mention that the Sumter Police Department and also the Sumter Sheriff's Department are both guilty of the exact same rampant civil forfeiture as any other departments in the state of South Carolina. So they are just as corrupt as any other law enforcement agency in that state, but they take their corruption to the next level as this video has shown you. But what do I know? I'm just the devil in the details.